Right, and so we've got Jody's customers bobber in, and when we put the supercharger, or he put the supercharger on this back probably a couple of years ago now, we couldn't get into the ECU to do the remapping with Tune ECU like we can now, so we had to run a power commander. And the problem with the power commander was that
like MotoGP speed. Doing a wheelie at 140 mile an hour. First, second, third, fourth. That is so fast, isn't it?
you couldn't de-restrict it. So these bikes are limited power in first and second to stop you wheeling and wheel spinning, getting out of control. Third is the only full power throttle map, and then fourth, fifth and sixth are progressively more and more restricted to stop you going too fast. So now we can get into the ECU. The power command has been junked, and we can now get into it and map it to give him full power in all gears and fine tune it a bit more than what we could before. So this is going to the dyno next week, and hopefully we'll give the guy all what he needs with no engine management light. That's the important thing, no engine management light. But yeah, he makes some pretty cool bikes, Jody. Wheels V-Rod came in with an injector leak, and it was a O-ring on the front injector that was leaking, and when we checked it out, it seems like the hole for the injector in the cylinder head is a little bit deeper than it ought to be, and so the injector was pushing down, and the O-ring just couldn't do its job properly. So we've made modifications and we've got all that sorted. But of course, while it was running sick, it wasn't doing spark plugs any good. The spark plugs have just come for that, genuine Harley spark plugs going in. So on Monday, we'll get the spark plugs in, get it back on the dyno, and at long last, get this one out the door. Jerry's Harley. Jerry wants a supercharger kit, and I've told him the way I would like to go with it, and he's accepting that. So I don't like running a big motor with our supercharger kit. We're making a lot of power, a lot of heat, and if you've got a big bore as well as everything else, the pistons are always short, the skirts are too short, and with the power we're making, the piston tilts, you get blow by, and it's just not a good combination. The Screaming Eagle 117 pistons and 120 pistons have really tight piston to bore clearance. The material the piston's made out of means it doesn't expand a great deal. Pistons don't rock so much, so the piston ring sealing is really, really good. And back, 2018 on my breakout, my 117, before I blew the clutch to pieces, was making over 300 horsepower as a 117 running race fuel. We're looking at setting this up so it's running about 200, 220 horsepower. Got a good cam in it, got Screaming Eagle, aluminium inlet manifold with a 68mm throttle body, and we've got a 117 piston kit in it. I'm waiting for his exhaust to turn up. He said he'd send it to us, so that should be any day now. And then we're looking at a revised supercharger kit for this model because it's got a gear lever that is in the way of my supercharger drive. So we've got a new supercharger setup going on this bike, and I'm about a quarter of the way along in doing this. Our Yamaha MT-09 Supercharged. We're just about ready to sell this bike. We can't find the little panel here, so I'll have to buy a new panel. It's been around and apart for a long time. It's together, it's making 165 horsepower, about 90 foot-pound of torque. Total wheelie machine, but with loads of control. Engine's got Carrillo rods and JE forged pistons, so it's a proper build on the crank. If you remember, only 10 years ago, we built this up with the supercharger, didn't give it too much horsepower, only gave it 130 horsepower, A journalist took it for a ride and it threw a conrod. And when I took the engine apart, I could see that everything was wafer thin, total eggshell, lightweight motor, and it wasn't going to take a huge amount of power over stock. So we had to wait 6 months for Carrillo to produce the rods. JE made me some pistons. We finally got it together. And then I started to lean on it a bit more than the 130 brake. We got 160, like I say, 165 horsepower. Full Kropovich pipe. Move my S2000 stuff out of the way. She absolutely howls. So we'll have a little road test on this sooner rather than later, probably next week. We took in yet another Gixxer Thou. This one came in from Hungary, and Raymond gave us this bike, asked us to do something special because it's a street fighter. I think we had a video of it the other week on the dyno, a little white bike with lots of silver on it. And like I say, it's a street fighter. So we've got room for decent size intercooler. The intercooler hasn't turned up yet. I've got to chase that. But we've got the rest of the supercharger kit. We put in JE pistons, nice forged low compression pistons, forged conrods, heavy duty cylinder studs. We've got the head gasket, we've got the Cometic head gasket and case gasket. So it's come together with all the right bits and should be pretty bulletproof. And we're going to lean on it a bit harder than what we normally do with the Gixxer Thous because it's got the right bits in it. So the final supercharger setup, you'll have to wait and see what it is because I haven't 100% decided which way I'm going to go, but it would be very nice to have something more than the little C15 gives us of around 200, 215 horsepower. It'd be nice to get this up somewhere around 280. Not that it'll ever be able to ride it. I mean, the wheelbase on these Gixxers is so short. But hey, you'll have some fun. So we are getting somewhere with Tad's Barry Sheen number 7 Tribute Super Booster that's being built in the States right now. And you see the paintwork here. You'll see that not all of it is here. And that's because there's one or two pieces that just didn't match up quite well. You know, panel to panel, pinstriping and stuff is very difficult to get right when you haven't got the bike. And Pete dropped the paintwork back and we looked at it and we agreed that there's one or two changes needed making. So he is working flat out addressing those issues. And then we've got to wrap it up extremely carefully and ship it over to Ryan in the States. Update on the S2000 supercharger kit. We're running the new counterclockwise C3094. As you've seen in previous videos, supercharger is sitting here. The reason it's off at the moment is that we've just drawn the bracket up and it's out for laser cutting. So we're having a stainless steel bracket mounted in 4 points, 2 points here, a point here and a point down here. It's going to sit just here. Out of the supercharger, we go straight down. The supercharger is going to be there, so straight down the pipe into the bottom of the charge cooler, out the top of the charge cooler into the throttle body. That is a super, super short run with minimum pressure drop. We've got nice 3-inch pipe work here, going from 2 to 3 into the bottom of the charge cooler. And then we've got our water pump, coolant pump just here. So we're going water-cooled charge cooler, pre-rad or radiator. So we're going out of the radiator, through the pump, into the charge cooler, back round. Got a little expansion bottle to fuck off. Got charge cooler, pre-rad, water pump, all in the places they're going to go. Got a little bracket to fit to get this pre-rad in the right place. Probably take a mount off here to the side of this one, and from the top up to here. So nicely mounted. We've got a peg in the bottom to keep it located in the bottom, onto the bottom, this bottom pan. And we've got a little expansion bottle that we're going to use And that dinky, lovely little expansion bolt. So that will sit at the side here probably and come round to, just in case the water gets so hot it boils, which is highly unlikely, but we have to cater for it. We don't want the water coolant shooting across the road or track and putting somebody in a hedge. So yeah, I think by this time next week we'll be up and running. And the other news is that although we're running a C30 94P, which should give us around 400 horsepower, Rotrex have just slipped a little note to me that they are making a C38 81 with counterclockwise rotation. So that gives us an additional probably 80 to 100 horsepower when that comes along. But that's in June. They won't have any until June. So we're going to run this one. I think the clutch may hang on, so it would be a cheaper kit. No, hopefully no clutch, but enough power to keep you happy. And of course the bracketry and everything is so much simpler than the previous kit. It's going to be quite a bit cheaper, around £1,000 cheaper than the other kit. So if you want one, place your order now, place a pre-order, and we'll get it to you as quickly as we can. I think production parts will be done within the month, but don't hold me to it. You know all about our ZZR ZX14. Well, we've got the production parts on here now. We've got 5mm plates on the frame. We've got the blow-off valve on this side. It was on that side. It's a neater setup. Pipe work is much, much nicer. We're stepping up from 2" to 2.5" from the supercharger. All the supercharger is all Cerakoted black. It's got the CNC'd aluminium case. So this is all up, 30mm wide tooth belt pulley. And as soon as we get the opportunity, we'll be going out on the street and seeing how she performs. So we've got Andy's MK Sports Cars, a little car in with a supercharged R1 engine. And he's asked me to set it up, and nicely, it's got a max ECU in it. He's not messing around. So anybody who does any remapping knows that the max ECU is the nuts. It really is so easy to work with and so fast and gets such good results. I've now got it on my Super Booster for drag racing, and I know it pretty well inside out, and I think we can get him a really good result with this. But this car is so light. It takes nothing to push it round. I bet it doesn't weigh 400 kilos. It's a beautiful thing. He's put a lot of time and effort. Everything looks really, really sweet. Hose clamps are a bit overkill. Definitely not going to blow those off. But yeah, if you wanted to save some weight, you could use some simple stainless clamps that we use. But yeah, it's not going to fall apart. Pretty decent size intercooler. I should think you'll be getting a good 60-70 horsepower more than the stock engine with this, and probably around 100 foot-pound of torque, and that's what he needs with the car. You know, the old R1 engine only made 65-70 foot-pound of torque. To get 100 foot-pound of torque would be really nice, and of course it doesn't have a power band. It just pulls from nothing, so it will be really great to get this done. He's in the queue. I can't do everything, and we should get it done in the next 10 days, I should think.